Hello folks, friends and movie lovers, welcome back to the channel and to the latest instalment of the Movies in Review. For today's instalment I would like to talk about quiet places. I would like to talk about very quiet places, because who doesn't like a decent bit of peace and quiet occasionally, every now and then? Who doesn't enjoy getting away from it all, from the hustle and bustle of busy city life? Cars tooting their horns, music blaring, arguments and conversations so loud that they almost feel like they're invading your personal space. It's for those reasons that I love getting away for a decent bit of peace and quiet, as far away as possible, for as long as possible and as often as possible. That is why for this video today, I would like to talk about quiet places. I would like to talk about very quiet places because recently, in the last few days or so, I went to see A Quiet Place Day 1 at the cinema with my family, a prequel to A Quiet Place 1 and ties into A Quiet Place 2, and felt, as a developing series, that they were worth some comment and review. In that regard, I shall endeavour to review each one independently of each other. However, as instalments of a developing and expanding story references to other instalments where relevant to do so. Whereas the Police Academy film series, they are independent episodic instalments with their own self-contained narrative, therefore can be dealt with separately. A Quiet Place, linking in with earlier and later instalments in the chronology of the series. But first, let me start with A Quiet Place 1, the first movie in the series and the subject of today's video. Set in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by aliens with highly sensitive hearing and impenetrable armor, A Quiet Place 1 begins 89 days after the Earth has been invaded. A Quiet Place 1 develops as we witness how the Abbott family, comprised of the mother, Evelyn, played by Emily Blunt, father, Lee, by John Krasinski, and their children, daughter Reagan, played by Millicent Simmons, whom we learn is deaf, and sons Marcus, played by Noah Jupe, and Bo, as they struggle to survive living on their isolated farm in the middle of the forest in upstate New York. It is essentially the story of how they handled the situation and their daughter's disability, and using their daughter's disability as their greatest advantage, as they struggle to live in total silence, knowing even the smallest noise would attract the aliens. I thought it was to the credit of the writing and the actors that the dialogue was almost exclusively in ASL, it's American Sign Language. It certainly helps to sharpen the idea that they needed to be quiet to such an extent that they made no noise at all, something that also explains the oddities such as always being barefoot throughout the entirety of the movie. There is something vaguely H.G. Wells about this movie because his novel, The War of the Worlds, is about the Earth being invaded and taken over by Martians from Mars. The big difference here is that the aliens in this story don't appear to be affected by even minor illnesses such as the common cold. A Quiet Place 1 is filled with all the spine-tingling suspense, with every anxiety-inducing sound, making the heart skip that one extra beat. It was great to see how this was applied to different scenarios, such as a trip to the local shop for medicines and supplies, and even giving birth to a new baby. This was balanced really well, with the poignancy and sadness of the father's sacrifice to save his children while they were trapped in the car that came under attack from the aliens, and the loss of Bo at the beginning simply for playing with a toy that made a noise when switched on. The fact that the story was started 89 days into the invasion, that's almost 3 months, give or take a day or two, turned out to be a great plot device. At first, from my perspective, it did seem quite jarring because it always seemed more natural to start at the beginning, from day one. However, taking time to reflect on this further, I think it was actually quite a clever ploy, because it means the story can be opened out a little further. Starting this movie from at the very beginning would have changed the very essence of the movie, so much so that we would have had a totally different story. It had allowed room for speculation and creativity on how the whole situation began. We have a story about how people are handling the situation. A prequel could conceivably be, spoiler alert, look at the very beginning. That beginning, the invasion and the period of adjustment, learning how to live with and handle the situation. All I can say at this stage about this one is that it is a great start. Alright folks, that's all I have for this one. Stay tuned for part 2, where I'll be looking at A Quiet Place 2, and part 3, where I'll look at A Quiet Place Day 1. To tie off any loose ends and bring it all together, I may even do a part 4, just to summarise and tidy everything up. Thank you so much for listening to the very end. Please remember, if you haven't already done so, don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons and the bell icon for notifications and updates on when new reviews and reactions get uploaded. My name is Simon and this is the Movies in Review. Thanks for listening.